Okay, it's now 7 o'clock. This is the October 25th Public Safety Committee meeting. I am Veronica, the chair of the committee. Joining us is Eli Rodriguez, Yahe Obeid, also members of the committee. And we have Officer Tyrone Medeiros, Crime Prevention Officer of the 49th Precinct. Okay, so we're going to start the meeting. Tyrone, you could go ahead and give us the stats if you'd like to start off. That way, if you need to drop off, you can.
Alrighty. Hello, everyone. I'll just get right into it. Year to date, crime is up in the 49 precinct. It's up 14.6% as compared to this time last year. The major drivers of crime is basically grand theft autos and robberies at this point. Robberies have been edging up slowly all year, and now it's finally become the taken second spot as to as our second major driver in crime. For the past 28 days, the major driver in crime has been grand larcenies of automobiles, which has basically been consistent for the entire year. We are up 53% as compared to this same time last year. For the last 28-day period this time last year. The hard number is basically 23 incidents as compared to 15 from last year. The next position for the 28-day is grand larcenies. We have a hard number of 39 incidents as compared to 35 from last year, which translates to an increase of 11.4%. The total increase of crime for the past 28 days is 8.2%. As far as major incidents go, we had a shooting 10 o'clock this morning today at the intersection of Fenton Avenue and East Gun Hill Road. If anyone's familiar with the area, that's actually the exact location of Carl Hasty's office. It seems that someone shot at someone else, and that person might have shot back. That is all I got as to what happened there. Don't even quote me on that because I'm not even sure. The investigation is still ongoing. That's basically what I heard from the grapevine as to what happened. And I think that's all I've got. I think there was we had this meeting last month, right?
No, we didn't have a meeting last month.
Oh, okay. Then I'll go over, I guess, one major thing that happened over the summer, at least. Basically, we had a murder occur in Pelham Gardens. I think an 80-plus-year-old man was lured into his garage, and he was basically, from what I observed, beaten to death. It took about a week, but we were able to catch the person who did it. He is currently in custody, and as far as I've been told, he remains in custody. And I believe that's all I've got for you guys.
Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for Officer Medeiros? Ellie, I think you're on mute.
I do have a question too, once Elliot's done.
Officer Medeiros, I'm just curious because for the past several weeks, I've seen a lot of those scooters and bicycles parked on the sidewalk and even being driven on the sidewalk. What's the policy? I mean, are they allowed to drive on the sidewalk? It's really getting out of hand.
They're not allowed to drive on the sidewalk. It goes against, I forget what they call it. Basically, it goes against the agreement that they sign in order to have permission to drive one of those things. If you're talking specifically about the trial rental scooters, Bird, VO, and Lime. basically what we're doing is basically being in contact with DOT, telling them if any crazy things that we see, giving them our concerns, and then the DOT is really the organization, the entity that's taking point in this particular for these e-scooters. So what happens as to what the DOT is going to do about it, I really don't know. Hopefully,
So you've been getting some complaints about that?
yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. I believe even for the Alton Avenue homeowners association meeting, I heard some crazy things I haven't observed myself, but I definitely believe, as in scooters getting thrown in rivers, and one particular instance of a scooter being found in a tree.
Yeah, it was a bird scooter at that. Yep.
Yeah. So there's been some interesting things happening with these e-scooters lately, but like I said, the DOT is really taking point for this. Unfortunately, as for our end, we are not in a good position to take enforcement action when it comes to these scooters, because we don't have any reliable means to really go after them. Officers are in cars, and we can't really follow them because they're all over sidewalks. They're going the wrong way down one-way streets, tight one-way streets.
Yeah.
We used to have our own mopeds and scooters here, and I don't know where they went. They disappeared. They're gone. So we no longer have the ability to chase them, even if we wanted to.
Thank you.
Thank you. Naomi, you had a question?
I'm sorry. Hello, how are you?
Hello.
There's two things. One, to piggyback off of the scooter issue, and I keep bringing it up at every meeting, and I guess everybody's gonna get sick of me. But the scooters are driving me nuts. Are they supposed to follow the rules of the road?
Yes. Scooters are held to the same rules as bicycles, as the same rules of vehicles. They have to stop at stop signs, stop at red lights, not supposed to drive on the sidewalk. The problem really is enforcement. Now, when we first got notified about this type of thing, I could be wrong, but I could have sworn that I saw that there's supposed to be geofencing with these particular these devices, and I know that they're definitely using geofencing in order to stop them from leaving the East Bronx. But I was under the impression they were also supposed to stop them from driving on sidewalks, on protected pedestrian walkways, because I remember that coming up as a concern for Pelham Parkway, and that these things were supposed to be immobile when on these particular paths. But I haven't seen it.
Yeah, neither have I. I'll tell you an incident that I've had. One almost crashed into me, and I was driving with my daughter, and they failed to stop at the stop sign. They just went through not because they didn't want to stop, but because they didn't know how to operate the scooter. It just kept going.
Yeah. In my observations, which have already passed at DOT, is that people under the age of 18 are using these things. People are what do you call it? Riding double on these things.
Yeah,
and
I've seen that.
Along with everything else, I'm sure everyone has ever seen, with the exception of scooters growing from trees. But everything else, everyone knows about, and the DOT is aware. And hopefully they at least give us a method of being able to identify these bikes. I think in the Allerton, once again going back to the Allerton Homeowner Association meeting in these past few weeks, it was suggested that these things are uniquely numbered and that these numbers are highly visible. And I was kind of surprised when all these devices started coming out and none of them had any numbers on them. So hopefully the DOT forces them to put these numbers on.
Right, that was one of the suggestions that was made at the meeting, was that be some kind of identifying method. So that way we can report if we see somebody doing something wrong. And Novato was at our meeting this month, and he did take all our suggestions with him, and hopefully something like Officer Madero said, something will come about it, that they'll start being able to identify each scooter individually.
Officer Madero, when a user decides to leave that scooter on your sidewalk, how long can it remain there?
Until someone moves it.
So
I think
it can be a day or two.
it could be a week, from what I've been told.
And if you end up with 3 of those scooters on your sidewalk for 2 or 3 days, and then people come knock them over, and then you got to pick them up because you're concerned someone's going to trip over them. And that's happened in front of my office.
I don't have any good answer.
How long?
Yeah.
I thought perhaps if they're out in the street for like 2 or 3 hours, whoever owns those scooters will come by and pick them up and then take them to a central place where they keep them all together on the sidewalk somewhere. But I guess that's not the case.
It's, as far as I can tell, it's kind of a gray area. These scooters are supposed to be kept in corrals, specific zoned areas. It's pretty obvious where those areas are on Pelham Parkway. Aside from Pelham Parkway, I haven't really seen these corrals, especially in the residential neighborhoods. Not even in Morris Park. I don't think I remember seeing any corrals in Morris Park. But, well, regardless, they're really supposed to be there. But the problem is that aside from these corrals where you can find them, the gray area comes in is that even though there are these corrals, you're able to keep these things on the sidewalk closest, pushing the sidewalk closest to the curb as well. So it's kind of like, which is it? It's supposed to be in a corral, or is it supposed to be near the sidewalk? You can't really have it both ways, and unfortunately, that's exactly what's happening. So the manufacturers, they wait until the battery starts to notify them that it's dying, and then they'll come and then they'll grab them and recharge them and take them back to the corrals until they're eventually left somewhere else again.
So these scooters are not regulated the way they need to be, is what I'm hearing.
In my opinion, no. But like I said, this is a program that started only for the past couple of months, so there's bound to be bugs, and I think the people who were in the meetings for just before this program was launched gave these concerns to the DOT and to the manufacturers, and so everything that's happening now, with the exception of them growing from trees, is basically foreseeable stuff that we basically gave our opinions on before the launch. So hopefully things will change. Like I said, being able to identify these scooters will go a long way. But until that happens, if that happens, the primary organization for enforcement really would be the NYPD, and we don't have the means to go after them. The only thing I can think of is maybe a universal card for NYPD officers to use, and maybe they're on hypotheticals. Maybe they're on foot post. They see someone driving the wrong way with a scooter. They happen to be a scooter next to them. Let me hop on this lime and go after them. That's never going to happen because liability, blah, blah, blah. But we really don't have the ability to go after them. We just don't.
Hello, everybody. So I just want to tell you what happened. I get all these scooters parked in front of my house.
Excuse me a second. Yeah, hey, can you take over for a minute? Melani's having trouble getting in. I'm going to try and help her.
Yeah, sure. So I had an issue where one was parked. Finally, there was one in my driveway, and I'm like, okay, it's been annoying, but now it got really annoying. I tried to move it, and it was like, I couldn't move it. So I called 311. 311 operator had no idea what I'm talking about. So I tried explaining to her that it's a pilot program and it's not citywide. She didn't care. She didn't understand. Ultimately, she filed a 311 complaint for a blocked driveway. So I took a walk around the neighborhood. When I came back, the scooter was moved 2 feet to the right, which is still blocking the driveway. But I did get an email from the NYPD saying that the issue was resolved and the person blocking the driveway was no longer there. So it was just really a waste of time. It was a waste of 20 minutes of me being on hold and talking to the 311 person. When we escalated it to Bird, to the company, they sent us information and they said, send us an email. We will respond right away. So I don't know what right away means, but like everyone's been saying, it could take a week.
That's crazy.
I'm sorry this happened to you. The quickest way to make a complaint is probably not going to be 311. I'm going to see if I can find it. I think I have some notification numbers that I can give you. So I'll see if I can find it. And then, oh, here we go. No, that's not it. Once I find it, I'll go back on the air. I'll unmute myself.
Yeah, I know it's 3 different companies, and if you want to complain about one specific one, you got to contact that specific company. But there is one central email that's a DOT email, a New York City DOT email. And honestly, I'm not going to count on them forwarding my complaint to that company. So if we need a middleman between me and the company, and it's a city agency, I'm just going to lose that battle. So
I definitely hear you. The
Yeah. Did you can you hear me?
barely.
All right, sorry. Complete dead zone, I guess. You hear me now?
Yes.
So yeah, hey, did you make mention of what we learned or what you learned about first responders?
oh, not yet.
Okay. All right. Just yeah, you might want to mention that when you get a chance. All right.
Yeah,
Sorry,
so,
go ahead.
With the Bird representative, what she sent us also a flyer. On the flyer, which was interesting, was that first responders get to ride for free. So they don't have to pay to ride. So, which was very interesting, instead of paying the I think $1 initial charge and then 39 cents a minute after that. So, which can, get a little expensive. But if you're a first responder, it's free. You just got to email them your ID.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't hear that. Okay.
And that's just for Bird. I don't know about the others, but Bird is the one that's offering first responders unlimited free rides.
Gotcha. It's good to know. Thank you. Just so everyone knows, I put the email to make complaints through on the chat. It goes direct to the DOT.
All right, sounds good. Let's see. I'm going to pull up the agenda to see what's next on the. Any more questions for the NYPD, the 49th precinct?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Yahya, I have one more thing.
Cool.
This incident that happened to me with packages. I don't know what we're doing or what we can do, but people are in this area are starting to steal packages. Kanan, 1 second. Starting to steal packages. I made a report. I made 2 reports. I haven't heard anything, so I wanted to know if you could go through that process or what's going on, I guess, or provide any update on that.
Do you have my contact information?
No.
All right. I'll put my contact information on the chat. Then you'll be able to contact me, not today, but tomorrow. Probably be better because I'm leaving very soon.
Okay,
And
no
then
problem.
from I'm going to be working between 1 and 8. So tomorrow, I guess at your leisure, you just call me, and then I'll find out what's going on with your I guess with your cases.
Okay.
'Cause,
Thank you.
Now, aside from that, the theft is categorized under two categories. The first one is petty larceny, then one's grand larceny. If you didn't have anything in those packages that was over $1,000 or total over $1,000, it was probably put under petty larceny, and those cases are not given as high a priority as our other cases. What ends up happening to those particular cases is that if we find that there's a pattern to the smaller cases, they'll all be practically rolled up into one big case and investigated that way. And when it's done that way, it takes more time. But I'll see if I can find out what's going on with your cases.
Okay. I appreciate
now,
it.
as far as what we've been telling people to do with the packages, if you're ordering anything that can fit into a secure locker, it'd probably be best to have it sent to a secure locker. They different UPS, Amazon, pick one of them. They have there's different lockers all over the place. You can just pick one and send it there if at all possible.
Okay.
That's probably your best bet, especially for more expensive items.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, any other questions for the 49th precinct? Okay,
Does anyone in the gallery have any questions?
okay, Veronica, you're back?
I'm back. Thank you so much.
Okay, cool.
Hi, this is Diana from Bronx Park East Community Association. I think my question would be maybe more about the conversation that I had with Officer Medeiros. I don't know if you remember about the problem of the hostile, aggressive homeless people on White Plains Road between Leidig and Pelham Parkway. Do you remember that we talked about that?
Yes.
Yeah. And I guess as you explained, there isn't an easy solution. And I've been thinking about it ever since, like what to do about, a lot of them are alcoholics and they have a pattern of harassing people for money in the mornings, especially on the weekends, so they can get enough money, and then they go to the liquor store that opens at noon and they have money to buy the liquor, and it's just sort of an ongoing thing. And some of them hold the doors at different establishments, others harass the street vendors, try to steal from the street vendors, but also beg money from them. And the danger is when some of them get a little hostile or provoked. And there was an incident where one got in a little bit of a tussle with a street vendor and also at the same moment knocked over an old lady who hit her head and assistance getting home. And, you know, luckily it wasn't worse than that, but it could have been. But what to do about them, I don't know. I don't know if you have any further thoughts, Officer Medeiros, or advice, or you did say we could, you know, if we had a picture, we could inform the community just to be aware of these, you know, certain individuals.
Yeah, like I said, if there's really nothing stopping you from taking pictures of these people.
Right.
And if you wanted to make flyers of them, beware of these people, and put them all over the place, you could do that. that's not something I can advise you to do. That's
Right.
something you have to make your own decision on
Right. I understand.
doing. As far as what the police can do, our hands on multiple fronts have been tied. We no longer have a unit dedicated to the homeless. We no longer have the ability to move people who are loitering. We don't have the ability to move people who are sleeping on the sidewalk, because apparently it's their constitutional right to sleep on a sidewalk. If you're looking at the news recently, we no longer have the ability to stop people for who happens to be having drug paraphernalia in their hand out in the open. And specifically hypodermic needles. We can't. They can be right there in front of me, shooting up. I can't stop them. It's basically been a very slow march into cutting away all the tools that we had to get people the help they need. Now, the only thing we can do is go up to a person and say, "Hey, you want help?" No? Oh, okay, bye. That's all we got. I understand where a lot of these law changes came from and what they are intending to do. This is my opinion. Unfortunately, it seems to me that in attempting to fix these problems in a way that I guess is quote unquote more humane or with more care, is taking away the ability of the public to say, hey, this person is not getting care on their own. They're dangerous either to themselves or others. They need to be forced into care. And as it may sound cold, but one of the best ways to do that was for an officer to walk up and say, "You can't do that. You're under arrest." It may be. I don't believe that it's counterproductive to arrest. I don't believe it's counterproductive to these people, to these persons' health, to arrest these people. And the reason why I say that is because of what I already just said. Sometimes some people, they have to get forced into help. And sometimes hitting rock bottom involves police action. Sometimes just putting cuffs on someone is enough to get them to say, "Hey, I don't want to do this anymore." Not only that, but what a lot of people don't realize is that when we put cuffs on people, it doesn't just go right to Sing Sing and then they're forgotten. That's not how it works. They have to go through the system, and it's a very elaborate system, from everything from the NYPD to the Bronx District Attorney's Office. There's so many resources that could be brought to bear for one particular individual that could just start with a pair of handcuffs. Everything from housing to education to substance abuse counseling. So much can be brought to bear, and it just seems like it's a missed. That, as cold as it sounds, that sometimes it's just a missed opportunity, because some people really do need to be forced into that type of help. Hopefully, you would hope that people are able to get talked to enough, build a rapport, get help on their own. But for some people, especially people who are already combating mental illness, who are self-medicating with dangerous drugs and alcohol, these people are not in their right minds. They may not be in the best frame of mind to make these types of decisions for their own betterment. And in my humble opinion, I think sometimes you really need to force them. I can go on forever. That's basically my stance on it. But as to what we can do right now, what the neighborhood coordination officers have done repeatedly is they try and find these people, talk to them, try and get them help, and they will refuse for whatever their reasons are. Like I said, some of them is mental issues. The others is more practical reasons for the most practical reason being that they feel safer on the street than they do in one of the homeless outreach centers. So that's all we can really do.
There used to be a group, I think it was not affiliated with the NYPD, like a homeless outreach group that would send people out to talk to them and try to convince them to get services. And I don't know if that group even exists anymore, or
from what I understand, Thrive. I don't even know if it's called Thrive anymore.
oh right.
That particular, if I remember correctly, that people from that particular government entity, came in and helped us years ago, and for the most part, with one exception, they were met with the same no's. I don't want help. But we also, I'm pretty sure there's another nonprofit that actually goes out and does the same thing as well. There's these entities do exist, and they do go out. It's just a matter of seeing if they can come out and do it again. And I'm not sure if they're even operating or how they're operating at this point because of COVID.
Right. It also seems as though the businesses would want to do something about it, and the banks in particular seem to attract people like this, maybe because that's where the money is. And then the fast food stores, places where people are in and out a lot, people hang out to open the doors for you. And some of the people who engage in this sort of aggressive panhandling are not homeless, I don't think. They live in group homes or something somewhere in the area, but they're not living on the street. They're just hanging out on the street as if they were homeless.
And yeah, we have found that people, in our experience, we have found that some of the people hanging out in Pelham Parkway don't even live in the state. Some of them came from New Jersey. For whatever reason, New York.
Because it's a relatively nice area.
For the Bronx, sure, that definitely is. But it doesn't quite, at least for me, it doesn't quite explain why you would make the trek from New Jersey all the way to the Bronx.
When we had all those people in the park, was it last year or the year before, when there was overrun with homeless people? A lot of them were from out of state, and I believe Councilman Jonai said that when he asked one of them why they traveled all the way over there, he said that people there were generous. So people around the Pelham Parkway area were giving these people money when they begged for it, so it was worth their while to come down and stay there.
Gotcha. That's probably part of it. Fortunately, that's not anything that we can solve,
right,
other than telling people don't hand the money, as cold as it sounds. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Anybody else have anything for Officer Medeiros?
Thank you, though, Officer Medeiros, for all those thoughts.
Thank you. I hope I wasn't too wordy. I know I can be a little rambly.
No, you're great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. If nobody else has any questions for Officer Medeiros, you are welcome to stay. Very welcome to stay, Officer Maderos, but if you have to leave, we understand that too. Thank you for joining us today, though. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, just for the record, Melanie has joined us. She was having issues joining. Unfortunately, she's been holding on since before 7 o'clock to join the meeting. So Melanie, sorry about that confusion, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad that we were able to figure out what was going on. Thanks,
Okay,
though.
you're welcome. We were going to vote on the minutes tonight, but unfortunately, I'm not able to find my copy of the minutes, and I don't see that I sent them to the board office. So we're going to have to postpone voting on last meeting's minutes, and we'll vote on last June's and this month's meeting at the next meeting, minutes on the next meeting. Okay, so sorry for that. But the next thing I want to talk about is we need to have a co-chair for this committee. Has anyone that's a member of the committee taken any thought to volunteering to be the co-chair?
Does being the co-chair entail?
Basically, if I'm not available for a meeting, you would run the meeting. You would also help me to get ideas and get guests for guest speakers for here. If we're not able to find any together, we could try and discuss some that might be of interest to the community. So it's more so that if I cannot host a meeting, you can host it. And if I can't attend the leadership meeting, that you would attend in my place. Those are the two main things of what a co-chair is going to be doing. Is anyone interested? Okay. Since we have no volunteers, I'm going to speak with Al and Yahe on a separate meeting, and we will discuss who we think is the best person to co-chair, and then we will make that announcement at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Now, the other thing I wanted to go over is I asked, and people, guests and gallery members, your input is valuable in this too. I asked of the committee members to think of things that would be of interest or that are of concern to the community that we should be addressing in our upcoming meetings, or any guest speakers that they would like to have here that we will reach out to and see if we could get them scheduled. So first, committee members, did anybody have any ideas they wanted to bring to the committee? Nobody?
Veronica, is it possible to bring somebody in and give us an update on the scooter and those bicycles and how long
Yeah.
that project is going to go on? Do they at this point have a sense of how the pilot project is working out? What are some of the complaints that they're hearing, and what are they doing about it?
I can reach out to Novato Lopez and see if he or one of his representatives could come to on one of our meetings to discuss what's going on with the scooter situation. So I'll add that to the list.
And what
Anybody else?
what y'all had to say, I mean, I would be really annoyed if someone had the audacity of parking that scooter in my driveway. I mean, that's really, it's like you might as well park on your porch. You know, it's
Yeah, trust me, I have seen many. I've been driving. I've seen scooters in driveways, in front of stairs, against building doors. Like, they have no concept whatsoever of any kind of courteousness, that they just leave them wherever they want, not thinking that somebody might want to pull out of their driveway. An elderly person might be trying to come out of a building door and now has to deal with pushing a scooter out of the way. They don't care. I mean, those are all the issues that we've seen.
Veronica, is there a way for the people who are managing this pilot program to identify if someone is not using the scooter properly and therefore prevent them from using it again? Or is there just some kind of a system to hold them accountable for not following the rules?
Yeah, unfortunately, they have a GPS that basically tells them if they put it in a proper area, but it's not like to the inch. They can't tell them if it's right in front of a building or if it's been placed in someone's driveway. They could just give an idea of the vicinity of where the scooter's been left. At the Allerton Merchants Association that Officer Medeiros was mentioning earlier, we had Novato as our guest, and it was brought up to him of a way to identify each scooter. So if somebody is breaking the rules, maybe there's a number that you can identify and reach out to the company and say, this number on this date and time did this offense. And Novato said he would take that information back and he would reach out to the companies and hopefully give them that idea, and maybe it'll come about that they'll be able to make some kind of identifying mark on the vehicle so we can identify them when they're when somebody's on them making an offense.
But Veronica, when someone's here, I haven't gone through the process of trying to figure out how you get a chance to rent one of these scooters, but this payment is involved, I suspect, right? And
Correct.
they know when that person stopped using that vehicle and when the next person may come along to piggyback on that and take it elsewhere. If a complaint is made before a second person piggybacks on that, and then it's a violation, why can't they hold the person responsible who parked it there? You follow what I'm
I
saying?
don't know. I mean, these are all great questions. I don't know if that was addressed to him. Like I said before, they can't tell if somebody leaves something, it leaves it on the corner, and then kids come by and play with it and move it a little bit down the block and leave it in front of somebody's house. They're not able to tell who it was that did it at the time. If the person is no longer registered as using the vehicle, then they can't be held accountable if somebody moves it down the block. Because unfortunately, those scooters are movable.
Right. So Veronica, maybe an idea is to have someone who can help us implement some regulations, because my main concern is there is, like, as the officer stated, there's no regulation. It's just
Well, they are. They're
open sea.
supposed to be obeying the laws of traffic, same as the bikes, same as the cars. But how many times do we see bikes not adhering to the law? And they're on the sidewalks, they're going down the wrong side of the street. So it's hard, and it, like the Officer Madero said, they don't have, their hands are tied to a certain point when it comes to enforcing the law with them. They can't chase them. They can disappear down the side street or on a sidewalk, and the cops can't follow them. And without any identifying marks, there's nothing for them to make a report about.
Right,
As
but I think
someone who's used the scooters, the Bird scooters at least, when you end your ride, you have to take a picture of the parked scooter in the app, and your ride doesn't end and you don't stop getting charged until you take that picture. And that's
That's
a way of
good.
ensuring that it's left in an appropriate place. But that's for just one of the models, the Bird, and I don't know if they have it for the Lime and the Vio also. Another problem with the scooters is that the kickstands are a little tricky to use, and I think a lot of the ones that are leaning on things, people haven't figured out how to use the kickstand, because you don't just put the kickstand down, you also have to kind of lift and pull the scooter back. So the kickstand's positioned right. It's a little tricky, and the apps don't really explain it at all. They say that the scooters have kickstands, but they don't show how they work. So I mean, that's a problem for some of the ones that are just leaning against things or falling over.
That's understandable. I think more the concern more is when they're leaning against somebody's driveway fence or someone's front door, stuff like that. I mean, leaning against a tree or a
vendors
light
that we have
pole.
to really press for the, because they say, well, you have to take a picture when you end your ride. So if you left it in an appropriate way, we can see. So does this work for all the vendors, and are they looking at the pictures?
Well, I don't know if it works for all the vendors. I do know that Novato said that as the complaints come in, they reach out to the vendors and they tell them what the complaints are and see how they're rectifying them. At the end of the pilot program, basically they'll see what complaints came in, how they were rectified, if they were rectified, if they were even addressed, and that would make a decision on whether that company remains as part of the program or if they just cancel the program altogether. I don't think they'll be canceling the program altogether. That's not likely. And I don't think they should. I'm not anti-scooter. I think it's great for people who don't have cars and need to get around. I just wish that they would be a little bit more considerate of the residents and other people walking on the sidewalks and just adhere to the law. That's the only thing I mean, I think it's a great program for people who don't have
Right,
transportation.
no, but my issue is the regulation. I agree with you, but the regulations, like, I understand you're saying the bicyclists, they have, but there's there's a road for them that's carved out. There's certain things that are carved out for cyclists because of that initiative of the environment and exercise and things like that. The same initiative needs to happen here. You can go anywhere and get educated on how to ride a bike in New York City. I don't feel the same education is there for these scooters that are, to me, more dangerous.
I want to say Novato said there was some training for them, but the best thing, I think we should invite him to one of our meetings, him or one of his representatives, and we could bring all these questions to him. And we'll make an announcement so the public knows that he'll be there for whoever wants to join in. And that way, everybody who has questions or concerns can be addressed at that point.
That's a great idea. Okay.
Okay. Does anybody else have any ideas for future guest speakers, or does anybody have any concerns they want us to look into to see about getting addressed? And this is for the gallery also. Sergio, are you in? You could speak if you have an issue. I see you still as muted, so if you're talking, we can't hear you. Oh, Sergio left the meeting, but I think he's going to be coming back in. All right. So does anybody else have anything they want to bring up? Okay. I know that the health committee usually brings in people to talk about health issues. I don't know if we want to think about bringing someone in to talk about the booster shots or any recommendations or anything along that lines. Is that something that people might be interested in having someone speak about?
I'm sorry, can you hear me now? I'm sorry.
Hi, Sergio. Yeah, I just asked a question, so hold on for one
Okay,
second.
yeah,
I just
no
want
problem.
to, does anybody have any interest in that? Okay, I guess not. So if not, if anybody thinks of anything, and Sergio, I'm gonna let you speak in just a second, but if anybody else thinks of anything after the meeting, feel free to email me. Or you can text me. My number is 646-765-3164.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
sorry. Two things. So can you put your number in the chat if you don't mind, and I'll
Sure.
But the booster, I do agree that we could have someone, but I think we should do it in partnership with the health committee.
Definitely can do that.
Definitely we should do the booster and maybe the vaccine for children as well. Somebody could speak on that because I have no idea.
Okay. And hold on one second. Okay, Diane, I see. Okay, you'd be interested too. Okay. So I'll look into, I'll speak with the health committee chair and see what we could do something together for that. Okay, Sergio, you had something?
Yes, I'm gonna post in the chat a link from the New York City Department of Transportation where they talk about what's an e-bike, what's not an e-bike. I'm sorry, these motorcycles in my neighborhood are really loud. And they essentially break it down by vehicle, so you can get a sense of like what the lay of the land is in terms of what's an actual electric bicycle, what's not. And I think that is informative because it not only educates you, but it gives you a good sense of how the police, NYPD, might enforce certain scooters or bikes. So it's just good to have. But I don't know if you guys have are, I guess, connected with the New York City Department of Transportation. There's like this sub Twitter where people post crazy stuff that they do while riding the train or the bus. And one of the interesting clips was someone had left an electric bike on the train tracks. And when the train came into the station and trampled over the bike exploded.
Wow.
And it was luckily the platform was empty, but it was kind of scary because obviously the lithium battery, it emits a very dangerous toxic gas that, that will literally melt your lungs essentially. But to me, I'm thinking like, what if this happens with the scooters in our neighborhood? What would happen with, let's say, just, someone driving happens to run over one of these e-scooters, right? Their electric vehicles have lithium batteries. Will it cause a similar explosion? To me, that was a big cause for concern. Perhaps asking them the possibility that something like this could happen and getting a sense of what kind of crash testing or whatever they've done with the vehicles to ensure that they don't explode if they're involved in a motor vehicle accident.
Yeah, it's definitely something we could bring up and ask them about when we have a DOT representative here. I don't know if I'll have them for the next meeting. I'm going to reach out to him first thing tomorrow and see if he's interested in having somebody or even himself come to our next meeting. I'll let you know that once I get a response from him.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything they want to speak about?
Yeah, Veronica, it's Ellie again.
Hi, Ellie.
I got my dogs in the background. I mean, that's maybe I misunderstood. But maybe about a year ago, I believe a police officer made a report at one of our board meetings regarding Waters Place. Follow me if you can. You're exiting Metro Hut Center, and you're making a right on Waters, and you're now approaching East Chester Road. My understanding was to make a left-hand turn, you had to be in the left-hand lane to do that, not from the middle. And if you were in the middle, you had to turn right along with the right lane that turns right. Now that's what I understood. The reason why I mention it is because you can go by there at any time, and folks are making a left-hand turn from the left lane. From the middle lane. So I just wanted some clarification on that, because if I'm on the left lane, I'm going straight to make a left, and I got somebody in the middle lane, and they're also going to go straight, and they're going to make a left. We can collide trying to get on the outside lane after you on the right lane after you make a turn on East Chester Road. Do you follow?
I understand what you're saying, and I don't recall offhand if there is a turn only signal for that middle lane. If there isn't, I think they can make a left-hand turn, but that's just my opinion. And if that's the case, then they would go in the right lane, and the person turning in the left lane would have to stay on the left lane. But that's something that we can bring up to Novato to ask about. Yeah,
because the middle lane does not have an arrow going either way. That's why it's a little confusing, because when I heard that maybe a year ago, that you cannot make a left-hand turn from the middle lane, and it's happening. I thought, but there's no arrows indicating that. And that's
there's no arrows indicating it, and there's no sign saying that they can't.
Right.
So there's really no signage for either way.
But my understanding that when they reported was that you cannot make a left-hand turn from that middle lane. I just want some clarification.
Right. No, that's definitely something we should bring up and ask, because I've seen that happen myself. Okay. Is there anything else?
Just wanted to add, there's a very similar situation at Pelham Parkway and Boston Road. Pelham Parkway eastbound and Boston Road intersection, where there's also the off-ramp from the Bronx River Parkway northbound, and the off-ramp of the Bronx River Parkway northbound meets the traffic coming across from Boston Road. But some of the traffic coming across from Boston Road wants to turn right to go south down Boston Road, and some wants to just go straight across. And likewise, people coming off the Bronx River Parkway, some of them want to go straight across. Most of them want to go straight across. So they have to sort of on their own agree to take turns, so that the people turning right in front of the traffic coming off Bronx River Parkway, so that they don't run into each other.
Right.
because they're asking the people who want to turn right coming off Pelham Parkway to cut around in front of the people exiting from the off-ramp from the Bronx River Parkway. It's just a crazy, crazy intersection. I don't know why it was designed that way.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. And like,
Mhm.
I walk by there frequently, and every day it's like there's these near misses, and they don't have the lights adjusted for this at all. And I don't know why they had to make the exit from the Bronx River Parkway meet at that intersection. It should have been earlier so that the traffic goes on to Pelham Parkway, and then it's
Right.
all coming off Pelham Parkway into the intersection. Anyway, so if we could
I'll
ask
make a note
both
of both
those things
intersections. Yeah, I'll make a note of both of those, so when we have Nevada, we can address it with him.
Thank you.
You're
And I
welcome.
would suggest you can Google contact the New York City DOT commissioner online, and it gives like all these drop menus, and one of them is to give a suggestion. Because I know exactly which one you're talking about. I actually, when I'm on the Parkway, I take the other exit for the zoo, just to avoid that situation because I really hate it. So I drive down one more exit to avoid it because it's like, okay, as a driver, you have to really look not to your right. You have to look at your 5 o'clock to see who's coming, which doesn't make sense. But the DOT doesn't care. We have to have a few accidents, 10 people die, and it has to be on the news 3 times, and then they'll fix something.
And then we'll do a study.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what we can do when we have the DOT with us. But anybody else have any other ideas for meetings? Okay, I'm sure there'll be other things that come up during the year, but if there's nothing else, does anybody else have anything they want to bring up? Okay, so it's 7:57. I forget, Yahe, do we need to make a motions for?
No, not
approve
for
meeting?
not for committee meetings.
Okay. So then I will say thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. I'm always grateful to see everyone here that comes to join our meetings. Always feel free to bring any concerns to us. That's what we're here for. And again, if you have anything that you remember or it comes about outside of the meeting, feel free to reach out to me and we will add it to our agendas. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, and have a great night. The time is now
Good meeting,
7:58.
Veronica. Good meeting.
Thank you. Good meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.